Oh, this episode's going to be again about AI, and it's going to be an amazing episode because we're going to talk about design. We're going to talk about Zhenjin, I guess it is called. I'm actually not quite sure, but it is something like that. It's like something pretty interesting. But yeah, there's going to be more after the intro, as always. And with that being said, hello and welcome back to the next episode of the Self-Development with Tactics podcast. And I'm really looking forward to this episode and going through this episode because it's again going to be hopefully changing a few perspectives some people are having that are hopefully just listening, maybe even watching, which leads me actually to the next point, which is these three things that I'm willing to talk about. The first thing is if you're willing to listen to the YouTube video, because I'm always assuming that people are watching that on a YouTube video because I don't actually know why. But the thing is, if you're on a YouTube video but you feel like, well, actually listening to it would be something that's pretty nice because it might be more efficient since you are able to do something simultaneously and whatnot, then please check out the first link in the description because it actually is a podcast, and this link should lead you to a page where you can also choose where to listen to the podcast on, which might be Apple Podcast, Spotify, Castbox, whatever it might be. It is hopefully also going to be there. But also vice versa. So if you're in a podcast and you feel like, well, I would actually like to have the video, then please also go down into the description. And I think it is kind of the second link. It is in the same section quite. And then please check this one out. The second thing is the notes. I do just remember that I need to actually upload the notes, and then also basically like a summary of the whole book notes, because as you then can see in the video, I've highlighted certain things and these are then going to be down in the notes. The third thing is the music. If you're willing to have some sort of a personalized experience with the whole video, then please, and also if you're willing to add some music to the whole video, then please check out the third link in the description. But yeah, enough being said, and we're going to go through this amazing one. So as you can see on the left side, here's the summary. Again, as you maybe know if you've just also been going through the other episodes that I've already recorded, because this is going to be like I'm recording this today, but it's probably going to be like for just tomorrow or something. I'm not quite sure. I really am not. But yeah, now we are gradually figuring out how to replace our minds by machines. If we ultimately succeed in this, then what jobs are left for us? Because the thing is, what I've been also talking about in the last episode that I've been recording is that what are we going to do? What are we going to do if just AI is taking over the world as a technology, not like as an evil kind of instrument for monarchies and for just terror and whatnot. So just as a good thing, as just a revolutionizing thing of technology. What are we then going to do? And I do have to say, like, there's probably going to be some jobs that are then going to be gone. It's then going to be just taken over by AI. Robots are going to do these things. The AI is going to do these things. But of course, there are also just a lot of things that are left for us, that we have to do. In the first place, as I've also been going through yesterday, it's going to be about teaching. It's going to be about doctors. It's going to be about engineers, programmers, probably also artists, as well as designers. Just these things that robots can't just do, which is creativity, which is probably, at least in the next few years. In the next few years, robots are not going to be able to be creative, to just help somebody in terms of a doctor and client or patient kind of relationship and whatnot. So there's probably, if you think about it, there's probably some things left, and fortunately it is quite something that you can be doing. But as I've said also yesterday, I do think, I really have a feeling for the fact that engineering and programming is going to be something that's actually going to be pretty important, I guess, because unless actually robots or robotics or machineries can do it themselves, which is, but I don't really think that this is going to be something that is going to be the case very soon, so that it is just completely automated, like also the evolution part, so that it is just also revolutionizing and just trying to figure out new things in terms of new technology and all those things. Like, until AI can do this on its own, I think it is actually kind of a good job to go for, I would at least say. The main trend on the job market isn't that we are moving into entirely new professions, at least at this point in time. I think it is going to be the case in some years, when there's new technology, when there's new opportunities, when there's just new things that we are just able to do, and that we can do, which is probably going to be something that's pretty interesting and also pretty cool to just have some, to just actually see some new jobs that I'm actually then going to be able to say like, okay, this hasn't been a case in my youth, because then I'm probably going to be like, 30 or 40 or something like that, I guess. Then I actually can say like, when I was young, everything was different and everything was better, of course, because always, I don't know. But rather, we are crowding into those pieces of terrain that haven't yet been submerged by the rising tide of technology, which is going to be, as I said, being a dentist, being a doctor, being a therapist, psychotherapist and a physiotherapist, and all just different kinds of things. Like, there is still quite some things left that you can be doing, fortunately. Imagine two horses seeing an automobile in the year 1900. I'm sure there'll be new jobs for horses that we haven't yet imagined, which is actually a quote. So this is somebody saying something and or a horse saying something, I'd say. That's what always happened before. Like with the invention of the wheel and the plow, people decided to take care of horses. So can we similarly take care of our fellow humans in need when they're just not quote unquote needed because like there is not a job that they can just go for or do or whatnot, and all those things. Like, can we take care of our human beings? I would say yes. And of course, I think we're actually also pretty good at inventing new things to do for people, I would say. Like just inventing new jobs so that all the people are having to do something. Of course, I think also money is going to be something different in the future. And I by the way, really, really, really love talking about the future and talking about these things that are going to be in the future. Whether it is flying cars, which I'm really hoping for that I'm going to be able to actually see. Maybe it's actually gonna be kind of a really, really neat thing that is gonna happen. It just really depends on how people are just doing with research and all those things. Like, it could be the case, it could be the case that there's a breakthrough in just one area which leads to another breakthrough and like just some sort of a chain reaction of breakthroughs which might us be able to do that. I, by the way, don't really know why we're not able to do this at this point in time, what the kind of difficulties are in this era or area actually, but also era. Kinda. But I'm looking forward to that. I really am looking forward to new things, new technologies, new jobs, new opportunities, all those things. To prevent cheaters from ruining the successful collaboration of large group, it may be in everyone's interest to relinquish some power to a higher level in the hierarchy that can punish cheaters. Which I think is actually a pretty good idea, also concerning the next thing. And cells in your body may collectively benefit from giving a police force, which is the immune system, the power to kill any cell that acts too uncooperatively, which I think is something that's pretty essential for the human body. And I think it also is going to be essential in these areas or in these eras. Now it is eras. Because if you think about robotics and those things that are maybe not that in control, maybe having somebody that is actually ruling over all those things with software probably, is something that's pretty cool. On the other hand, if it is really like the robotics or the machinery is punished by a higher level in the hierarchy or a higher thing in the hierarchy, how is this higher thing going to do that? I assume that it is going to be done by software. It will also come up to just whether robotics or robots are going to be able to feel something, because then you can also actually put them in prison if they're actual human beings or replacements, quote unquote, for human beings, or if it is like you're going to just break them apart, which is, it's also not going to hurt them though. But yeah, like I think, and also with hackers, this is actually the initial point that I was willing to come up with or talk about. Like, of course, there's going to be a hierarchy for just punishing the cheaters and punishing whatever. But what about cheating the hierarchy? What about just going around that? What about going around those punishments? Like, there's going to be some hackers and quote unquote cheaters, whatever you want to call them. I think that they are also going to be able to do something like that. I assume, at least. It's just my assumption. And it's just what I assume. It's just what I think about. But yeah. For example, if a government doesn't provide enough benefits to its citizens for obeying it, they may change their strategy and overthrow it, which is, I think, definitely the case. And I guess we've also seen that in certain states, in certain areas, in certain countries, I would say. And I would say, yeah, I think it just makes sense. If just the whole population, whether it is robotics, whether it is AI-driven robotics, or whether it is human beings, if they're not really happy with something, and it is actually a ton of people that are not happy with something, then it's going to be a problem for the state, or it's going to be a problem for the government, even though the government is having things like the police and things like the national security, or whatever it might be called. I mean, they have force, which might kind of force them to also use the force if something like this is happening. But yeah, I know I really hope that it is not going to be the case. I really hope that people are happy. And I've actually recently been having a look at the I've been having a look at the World Happiness Report, and because I did want to know what the 2019 World Happiness Report is looking like, and as we can see right now, there it is. The first country is Finland with a score of 7,769. I unfortunately don't know how high the score can be. And the GDP, maybe for like, yeah, it's probably going to be important. The GDP is 1.3 thousand and 40. Then there's going to be Denmark, which is slightly beneath it with 7,600 and a little bit of a higher GDP. Then there's going to be Norway with 7.55 and even a slightly higher GDP and whatnot. Then there's going to be Iceland, Netherlands, Switzerland. So the first 4 places, is it actually, I don't actually know what it is called. Like the 1, 2, 3, and 4, they all are Nordic countries, which is something that has always been the case. Like if we're having a look at the 2012, let's have a look at the 2012. I hope that it is actually going to be the case there as well. Well, never mind. 2017, I think yes, Denmark is just in the top place concerning the rankings from 2013 to 2015. Then Switzerland is going to be the second place, Iceland the third one, the fourth one is Norway, the fifth Finland, then the sixth one is Canada, and whatnot. I wonder where Austria is just on this one. It's actually really, really low, I guess. Either I just haven't seen it, because the funny thing is, in the 2019 one, it is fairly high. Oh, Austria is there. I see it. It's the 12th place, just quite above the United States. And something that was quite interesting, as you can also see there, Germany is generally quite low on the list, or quite low on the list, I'd say. And if we're then now having a look at the 2019 report once again, Switzerland, Sweden, New Zealand, Canada, Austria, Australia, Costa Rica, Israel, Luxembourg, the United Kingdom, Ireland, Germany. So if we're having a look like, let's compare it with, the Switzerland is place 6, or the 6th one, and Germany is 16, which is quite something. And by comparing the GDP is actually so low in Germany. Actually, we're having a higher GDP in Austria than we're having it in Germany. Could this be the case? Didn't really think it was the case. And where's the United States? Maybe I'm not seeing it. Oh, the United States is the 18th one, which is having a really high GDP, by the way, with 1.433. It's really high. The United Arab Emirates is just having a slightly higher one with 1.5. It's really quite high, but it's quite interesting to see that these places, or the Nordic countries in general, that they just are so happy. Most AI researchers and neuroscientists guess that the quickest route to superintelligence is to bypass brain emulation. Brain emulation is, by the way, if you're Googling it, you're gonna see a picture like, okay, upload your brain and all those things, which is like interesting, and I also think that it could be the case that our bodies are just like empty as such, and it is just about our brain. Even though, what about capabilities that you're having just because of your body? In terms of like your height, is your body actually going to be able to adjust to the height really quickly just because it's going to be different? If I'm just now going to be 2'3" or something, it's going to be completely fucking different. And I might not be able to deal with that. But I don't know. But yeah, by emulating the brain and engineered in some other way, because after all, why should our simplest path to a new technology be the one that evolution came up with? Because the aviation industry didn't start with mechanical birds. And I've just had a look at aviation, and it actually stands for just some aircraft things. And then I had a look at them just because, as we all know, the drones are not really birds, and they don't really look like birds. Because if you're also just having a look at this picture here, it does not really look like a bird. It might be having some similarities in terms of the design, because I guess the quote-unquote wings or propellers, I don't actually know what it is called. I'm very sorry about that. But the quote-unquote wings of the drone here that are just rotating and spinning and whatnot, they might be having some capabilities in terms of like a certain design that is basically emulating the wings of a bird or wings of a fly or wings of something else like that, which is I think also the exact same thing that aircrafts are doing or airplanes are doing. But I gotta have to say, like, yeah, why shouldn't we just be doing it in such a way? Why shouldn't we just be using a completely different way to do that, to just get this brain power? And just because I was interested, I just wanted to see like why we are saying drone and all those things. And apparently, the term drone, more widely used by the public, was coined in reference to the early remotely flown target aircraft used for practice firing of a battleship's guns, and the term was first used with the 1920s Fairy Queen and the 1930s the Havilland's Queen Bee target aircraft. These two were folded in service by the similarly named Airspeed Queen Wasp and Miles Queen Martinet, before ultimate replacement by the GAF Jidvik or Jidivik, whatever it might be pronounced. But if you're having a look at it, I genuinely like the design of all those things. Like, I don't like this drone though. Of course, it has a camera and it just needs to be looking like that, and maybe just because of packaging, and it is a modern drone, as they also say. But if you're having a look at something like this, like, first of all, it really looks kind of crazy, like a General Atomics MQR Reaper, which is a hunter-killer surveillance UAV. It looks quite interesting, and as we know, it is remotely flown, isn't it? I think it is. The General Atomics MQ-9 Reaper, sometimes called Predator B, is an unmanned aerial vehicle capable of remotely controlled or autonomous flight operations developed by General Atomics Aeronautical Systems, primarily for the United States Air Force, which is quite something that's tough, And the first flight was in the 2nd February 2001, which makes it 18 years old, and the program cost $11.8 billion. And the unit costs, does it cost 15.9 million? One fucking unit? This is insane. It really is insane. But I mean, like, of course, this fucking shit is really incredibly expensive, because have a look at it. Like, it first of all looks like a wasp. This is at least what I feel like. It really looks like a wasp, and it is indeed looking pretty crazy. And I think that there's also going to be a lot of sensors, and there's going to be a lot of cameras, and there's going to be a lot of things that actually make it able to fly autonomously and all of those things. But the funny thing still is, like, we are able to let things like this fly autonomously, but we're not able to drive something autonomously. I don't know if I can just say that. I'm not educated in the space, but I kind of feel like that it is like that flying might be more difficult than driving, but I'm not sure though. Then there's the DJI Phantom quadcopter UAV for commercial and recreational aerial photography. And then there's the Delta Quad VTOL fixed wing surveillance UAV, which really looks fucking cool, to be honest. The UAV launched from an air-powered catapult, pretty great. And then there's the Swift 020021, which looks pretty crazy. But I actually want to have a look at the Delta Quad VTOL UAV. The funny thing is that they're even having a website, which is called deltaquad.com. Is it actually like a versatile VTOL UAV for transport or custom sensor integration? I guess it is actually for the public, isn't it? But it looks pretty cool. I've also assumed that it actually is something like that, but maybe you're not even able to see something like it, because it's really looks strange, to be honest. It really looks strange. Instead, a mistake to passively ask what will happen, as if it were somehow predestinated, whatever. Instead, ask what should happen, what future do we want, and if we don't know what we want, we are unlikely to get it. Do you want to maximize positive experiences and minimizing suffering, or leave it to sort itself out? Yes. What I've been thinking about is what should happen and what future do we want. If we don't know what we want, we are unlikely to get it, which is something that kind of makes sense. But it is the exact same thing. Like, okay, if you don't know your goal, really working hard then for something which is not a goal of yours is not going to be good, because it is not a goal. You don't know where you are just willing to be in 10 years, 15 years, whatever. It is then just about doing something, but you don't know if it is like if you are according to your goals, in terms of like, are you really going for your goals? And it really reminded me on a short story, which is about the legendary archer. And it is originally, I think, from James Clear, but I'm not quite sure. I've actually reviewed the original one, but it is a really, really, really good one. And it is about Sanjin, as you can see there, the art of Sanjin, which basically means one should approach all activities and situations with the same sincerity, the same intensity, and the same awareness that one has with bow and arrow in hand. From Kenneth Kusha on One Arrow, One Life. Zanjin is a word used in Japanese martial arts to refer to a state of relaxed alertness. The literal translation of Zanish means the mind with no remainder. It describes a state of mind where there is complete focus and awareness of the body. During his early lessons with Master Kenzo, Harigal struggled to achieve Zanjin. I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. I would actually like to pronounce it correctly. So the whole story, and I'm gonna link it down in the description. If you want to read it, please read it. It's a pretty amazing one, pretty interesting one as well. It is about a German, I think it's a professor, which is Eugen Harigal. And he's a professor and he just moved to Japan and wanted to learn the art of archery, traditional archery. And there is a master, and the master is always saying some things like, okay, you know, the wind is tough and the rock is hard, but we all are... You can actually finish it. Like some things that he doesn't understand. Like, this is my point. So yeah, the right art is purposeless, aimless. The more obtainedly you try to learn how to shoot the arrow for the sake of hitting the goal, the less you will succeed. What stands in your way is that you think that what you do not do yourself does not happen, exclaimed Master Kenzo during a lesson. So, that what you do not do yourself does not happen. Yes, it won't, probably. And as you can see, like, it is, like, I think there's also like a way how you should just bend the is it actually bending the arrow? So using I think it is like just really, really traditional. But yeah, I think that's gonna be it. So thank you very, very much for being on this episode with me and going through these things with me. I've enjoyed it and I've really liked it. And I think it's been actually quite a good episode. So yeah, I wish you the best health, happiness, and also success. And I also hope that you're going to remind yourself and you're going to be remembered. It basically means your whole legacy, which basically means just being a good person and then being remembered as a good person. Yes. 3 other questions that I'm having for you are, why are you here? What are you trying to change? And what is bothering you the most? And I hope you ask yourself these questions because they are amazing. But I'm going to see you the next time. So please consider subscribing to the podcast and also to the YouTube channel. I would appreciate that. And I'm going to see you the next time. I'll see you.